Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to completely shatter a massive misconception about SAP S/4HANA FICO implementations. A lot of organizations approach this as just a simple IT upgrade. They think it's a basic, visual lift and shift of their old screens over to a faster database. But let me tell you, if you think you're just moving your current accounting operations to a system with prettier dashboards, you are stepping into a massive trap. If you get this wrong, you aren't just delaying a project. No, you are literally hard-coding inefficiencies into your business for the next decade. What we're actually talking about here is fundamentally rebuilding the architectural blueprint of your entire financial and controlling ecosystem right from the ground up.
Can we just replicate our current Excel reports in SAP? Seriously, if you hear this dangerous quote during your project, red alert. You're already heading towards systemic failure. Trying to replicate old workflows, legacy screen layouts, or those highly manual Excel reconciliations in a modern system? It's literally like painting the walls before the concrete foundation is even poured. Why are legacy workflows so toxic in a new implementation, you ask? Because insisting on porting over old processes brings massive technical debt. It completely bogs down a system that was specifically designed for real-time processing. It's kind of like building a state-of-the-art smart home, but insisting on using kerosene lamps in the living room. It just doesn't make sense. The source material makes it incredibly clear. Requirements definition in S/4HANA is not about documenting what you do today. It's about redesigning how you'll measure your business tomorrow.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the agenda. We're going to map out exactly how to guide your requirements definition phase by treating it as a fundamental redesign of your business. We'll cover the S/4HANA mindset shift, the foundation over features, the truth about gaps, B2B manufacturing complexities, global versus local demands, and finally, red flags and success keys.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, the S/4HANA mindset shift. Stop painting before pouring the foundation.
Think about the stark contrast between the old way of doing things and the reality of a modern system. Remember the chaotic late nights of a legacy month-end close? You probably had a finance person entering data in one silo and a controlling person frantically scrambling to figure out cost allocations in another. And what did that lead to? Endless, painful manual reconciliations? Well, thankfully, that era is over. The new reality dictates that these elements are completely integrated the exact second a logistics, procurement, or sales transaction occurs. Finance and controlling, they're no longer two separate worlds awkwardly meeting up at the end of the month. They are unified by default, tracking the financial reality of your business in absolute real time.
And this right here is where the Universal Journal, or the ACDOK table, changes absolutely everything. Think of it as a single, omniscient ledger. It forces you to align your organizational axes, accounts, and cost objects the very moment a transaction happens. You can't rely on fixing data at month-end anymore. Because this single ledger acts as the ultimate source of truth, it demands that your procurement, production, and sales teams are deeply involved in the finance requirements definition from day one. Say your logistics team buys a part, boom, it instantly hits this table. If those operational teams aren't in the room helping define the financial flows early on, your accounting documents might look mathematically fine, but they won't match the actual physical reality of your factory floor.
Moving right along to Section 2, Foundation over Features. Unchangeable core decisions.
Imagine trying to change the foundation of your house while you're already living in it, with the roof on and all the furniture moved in. That is exactly what happens if you try to add a new currency type or fundamentally alter a valuation view after your system goes live. It's a disaster. You absolutely must lock down these high-risk foundational elements, things like your ledgers, currencies, and corporate structures, long before you ever worry about screen layouts or minor operational reports. According to the architecture guidelines, getting your company codes, controlling areas, and parallel accounting ledgers wrong in the requirements phase is literally the biggest risk to your implementation. The impact on historical data, asset valuation, and inventory, it will be an irreversible nightmare.
Let's simplify one of the most critical structural choices you'll make: document splitting. Imagine a single $100 vendor invoice that belongs equally to two totally different departments. Document splitting is this incredible, invisible engine that automatically cuts that payable in half behind the scenes, ensuring that every profit center perfectly zeroes out for balance sheet reporting. It is absolutely essential. If you gloss over how cash discounts, down payments, or cross-company transactions behave with this invisible engine early on, your management reporting is going to be fundamentally broken later. And trust me, you cannot just flip a magic switch to fix document splitting after the fact.
Next up is Section 3, the truth about gaps, fit to standard, and clean core. So, when you encounter a gap, meaning a place where your current process just doesn't match the new software, How do you handle it? Well, you have to enforce a really rigorous 4-step logic. First, genuinely see if the standard process works. Second, try to change the system configuration without doing any custom coding. Third, and yeah, this is the hard part, push to change your actual business process. Finally, fourth, see if simply cleaning up your master data solves the problem. Why enforce this strict sequence? It's all about honoring the clean core philosophy. Building custom core extensions should be your absolute last resort. This ensures your system remains stable, lightning fast, and doesn't turn into some tangled, unupgradable mess down the line.
I'm going to give you some tough love here, straight from the source material. You must change your business to fit the standard unless there is an absolute legal, contractual, or strict internal control mandate preventing it. The fact that Bob in accounting has done his process a certain way using a macro-heavy Excel sheet for 15 years, that is not a valid business gap. Just because a process is different from your comfortable current routine doesn't mean the new system is lacking. Your job in a fit-to-standard workshop is to challenge Bob, aggressively adopt the standard, and minimize technical debt at absolutely all costs.
Let's dive into Section 4, B2B Manufacturing Complexities, Navigating Sabon and WIP.
Complex business-to-business manufacturing introduces a massive architectural challenge around production tracking. This is often called SEBON, or project manufacturing numbers. Now, if you try to force all your production tracking into one single data object or just one solitary box, your whole architecture will collapse. A really common pitfall is trying to use one single number to track the customer order, the physical factory inventory, the engineering design changes, and the final cost settlement. You can't do that. You have to intelligently unpack this. You've got to use sales order items strictly for customer matching, WBS elements for mapping your project budgets, and production orders for actual factory floor execution. Combining them all totally defeats the integrated logic of the system.
Okay, here is a massive trap waiting for manufacturing implementations. Just because the material ledger is mandatory in S/4HANA, that does not mean actual costing is. Standard costing is essentially your budget. It gives you a baseline to manage variances and track departmental responsibility. Actual costing, on the other hand, is the exact receipt. It takes all those accumulated multi-level price variances and pushes them right back into your final inventory valuation and cost of goods sold. If your business doesn't legally or operationally need to reallocate those complex variances at month end, do not turn actual costing on. Seriously, you'll just ruin your month-end closing schedule and add crushing complexity for absolutely no reason.
Moving on to Section 5. Global versus local demands, inspecting the building codes. When you're rolling out a system globally, you're going to encounter a severe clash of regional cultures and demands. For instance, a Japanese firm will often obsess over incredibly complex consumption tax requirements and strict electronic retention rules. Meanwhile, an English-speaking team might just brush past local taxes and focus heavily on the broader fit-to-standard global rollout architecture. And then you have your German branch demanding absolute compliance with audit-proof electronic archiving, known as GoBD, heavily scrutinizing system traceability and data access. So what's the crucial takeaway here? You have to play detective. What a local team loudly calls a strict legal requirement might sometimes just be a long-standing local office habit. You must rigorously separate actual regional law from comfortable local traditions to protect your global template.
And finally, Section 6, Red Flags and Success Keys, Final Inspection.
Listen, if you hear any of these specific phrases during a requirements definition, hit the brakes immediately. Phrases like, we'll just add the ledgers later, or just make it work like the old system, are massive warning signs. It proves your project team doesn't understand the permanent consequences of core architectural decisions. It means they aren't thinking about the end-to-end impact on data structures, and more importantly, they're actively avoiding the hard choices that have to be made right now at the foundational level. Let me be clear. You cannot kick the can down the road on currency, ledgers, or standard processes. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to take back to your implementation team. If you absolutely refuse to adapt to the standard, can you legally and financially defend exactly why you are building a gap? Remember, the true quality of your requirements definition isn't measured by having zero gaps. It's measured by your ability to explicitly and confidently justify every single deviation, knowing exactly which downstream data flows and financial controls it impacts. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and good luck pouring that concrete foundation.